Today's guests are a couple of characters you've seen at Corbett Field for the Magicians and Vistas. They've got the full catalog of dugout chirps, food takes, and plenty to say about the big leagues. But first, today's episode is brought to you by the Minot Public School Foundation. They're fresh off their senior yard-side campaign, so you'll see support for the Magi all over town. The foundation continues to work to meet the needs of students, families, and teachers. Look out for family meals to come, and you can find out about what's in store at the Minot Public School Foundation's Facebook page. Want to donate? Email minotfoundation@gmail.com. We've got Dylan Vigested and Keegan Stenvold from Minot Baseball now. Unfortunately, guys, we're kind of waiting a little bit longer for baseball at this point, but just catch us up a little bit about how the off-season is going as you prepare, hopefully, for spring and summer seasons.
So we've been working on a little bit of tee work, a lot of just in the garage, more likely. Sometimes we try to go out to the North Hill, but a lot of times that's been wet and not really the greatest conditions, so we haven't been really able to do some real good live hitting off of there. But we've been doing some tee work inside, a little bit of throwing. Sometimes we can get into like a school, just go to a gym or something and just get some throwing, maybe some ground balls in.
Or even when we get a chance with some nice weather, we go out in the street, play some catch.
Good old stickball era.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. I did a story not too long ago when I was in the cage there at Minot High, and I was talking with Dylan a little bit about just the Astros cheating, and we're going to get into that. But, Keegan, I didn't see you there, so either you were in the street or you're just taking an easy off-season. I hope to see some development out of you, man. What's up with that? I didn't see you.
I was at church that night,
Putting in work. Okay, I got you. Whatever. So whether you guys get to play Magicians baseball or Vistas baseball, what should the Minot area fans expect out of the team this season?
We got a lot of older kids, so we got experience coming. A lot of also some young kids coming up, but should be, if we get a season, should be an exciting year.
We'll be able to have like the bats, and our struggle will be we don't have a lot of pitching, but we have a lot of great athletes that can just swing it. And so even if we don't have a high school and we get only summer, we'll be able to steal a lot of bases. It's going to be kind of some high-scoring games, but I think we got a lot of bats and a lot of athleticism that can win us over in that.
What's kind of the difference between playing with the Magicians team in the spring against the WDA guys and stuff, and then as opposed to like the Vistas summer schedule, you got more local kids that are on that team, and you kind of branch out a little bit more. Just what's life like in the spring versus the summer playing baseball here in Minot?
It's a lot different because just in the spring, I'd say it's more formal, just like a lot more, okay, let's do this, and then you have a set schedule, go here. But when you go in the spring, you can have basically anyone can play spring ball or summer ball, and we also go to Bismarck and Fargo, and it doesn't help us that our high school team is basically one team, and then we add Bishop Ryan and stuff, but then you got Bismarck, who's got about 5 different high schools that combine, and Fargo, who has 4 different high schools. I think that's why Bismarck's always been good, and Fargo, they just took second in the World Series last year, so they're always good, post 2.
What he said.
Yeah, you're just giving them too much credit, though, even though they're number 2. It's supposed to be a North Dakota rivalry, right? The narrative that I drive up every time on the news when we have the sports anyway. One thing that I was talking with Easton Bennett recently about was apparently there's some best and worst Legion players when it comes to spike ball and the road trips. I know Bennett's maybe a little further back of you guys' era. Has that lived on or anything, or is there anybody that sticks out?
We don't play spike. We play suey and a little bit of flip, where there's some pretty bad suey players out there. That's just where we have a soccer ball and get in a circle and we go play in the middle or center field and just kind of do that. There's some people that are good, some people that are not.
Good people like who and bad people like who, Viggy?
Derek Nygaard, worst at everything.
Yeah, Derek Nygaard's terrible at it. But Alex Shimke's pretty good. Dylan Buchanan, not too hot at it. Back in the day when Brock Nesham played, he was not too good at it. Kyler was pretty good. Kyler was one of those people who just booted the ball at you as hard as you could, and you had to take it off the face. That's just his mentality.
The off-the-face mentality. You know, funny that you mentioned Alex Shimke was also in the Easton Bennett discussion for the best ridiculous side game among a Legion team. So, such a transcendent talent. No wonder that he's out in Washington State now doing his thing, huh?
Yeah, he's an athlete.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I think this is something that you both specialize in. I kind of want to get your take on it. Is what's up with these baseball players and all the friggin' dugout chirping and yelling that goes on all the time? It's never like that in other sports, enough that you can hear it. It's just so obnoxious, and you guys are right in the middle of it.
Oh, I'd say it's all a mind game. You get in someone else's head, they're rattled. They're not going to do a whole lot. It could be the best player, and if you get in their head, you take up a lot of their head space. They're going to be messed up all game. Doesn't matter how good they are.
Yeah, me and Keegan have been playing together for probably like 9 years or something like that, and we may have made a couple pitchers cry and all that stuff, but it's more just you get there, you're sitting there, and if you're on the bench or you are just sitting there for the longest time, you get bored. So then the coaches say, "We need some energy." So then you're like, okay, then we get rowdy, and then if the rowdy works, it just keeps building and building and building, and then sometimes it works to our advantage.
You always got to throw a few insults in there every now and then.
Yeah, because, like, getting in someone's head, that's like across every sport. You guys are probably more than baseball players here. And the thing is, baseball, it's just freaking goofy, though. I mean, like, all the other sports is, like, mean-spirited, and then baseball is a bunch of dad jokes. What's up with that?
Baseball does it best. That's all you can say to that.
We're just some great guys that can think of some good humor. It's more a time game. Like the other ones, you can maybe do a little bit of cheering, but we got all day to think of jokes and come at you with something.
And that's what you guys come up with. You got all day, huh?
Oh, yeah. Got a lot of time on it.
Wondering, like, what are kind of, like, the best, most clever, and maybe kind of the lamest lines you've ever heard? My personal one kind of answers both questions. Is back when we had the Expedition League All-Star game at Corbett Field, and it wasn't the Saber Dogs division. It was all the other guys where I was standing right next to them, and I was filming the highlights and whatnot. Theirs was for every swinging strike, they just said, like, sword. Like, the bat is so freaking skinny that they miss it, and it's like, okay, I got it after, like, 2 pitches, and these guys literally, after every swing and a miss, honestly, it might have even been at a foul ball because you're just getting a piece of it. It's just sword, like, every time for 50 times. And, like, if you're in the first row, I wouldn't have paid the admission for that to hear those idiots from the division opposite of the Saber Dogs doing that. So, what's kind of your best and worst that you've ever heard or given out?
I've heard some pretty bad ones. Like, there was this time we met a team, and just like we're down in South Dakota, and we met a team that was going to McDonald's, and we met them. It was like our team and then them. I found this big old cinder block. I don't know why I found it, and I was carrying it around for fun. And this team pulls up, and he's like, "Oh, I saw the rock, I saw your cannon out there. That rock's not going anywhere," or something like that. And I've also heard some Dickinson chants. This is when we were little playing together. Every time this one kid would get up to bat, they just started chanting the same old thing. And to this day, I still remember it. But
classic chirps always. You're ugly.
Yeah,
you're ugly.
Oh yeah, that's a fail-safe because everybody out there is ugly, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Or let them know, or ask them if the coach knows they're out there playing today.
Viggy, you kind of set yourself up, though, because you were carrying the cinder block around. I don't think the guys would have had much to say had they not had the material of the cinder block there, man.
Yeah, my maybe next comeback is you realize this could go through your windshield right now. It didn't end up too great, but we were friends the next day.
You thought it was, like, too much to say in the moment, or did you think of it after the fact? Because that's like a George Costanza syndrome, like the Jerk Store episode of Seinfeld.
Yeah, well, I thought it there in the middle, and I kind of, like, just said it, like, you realize I could do this, like, but I didn't, like, say, like, I'm going to throw this through your windshield, but I've also heard you stink because being a catcher and not washing your pads or your gear for, like, 2 years and having just sweating behind home plate at 100-degree weather. I've also had a couple, you're smelly or something like that, but nothing too great comes.
That's like a NASCAR driver level of sweat, right? On a hot day at Corbett Field in the catcher's gear all day long, squatting down, huh?
Yeah,
Friggin' brutal.
It's really bad.
I don't want to give you guys any ideas because I'm sure you have plenty of them. But when I was at Maryland, there would always be the fans that would be right behind the opposing goaltender for the whole match. Like they would switch ends and everything. They were called the crew, and they would just creep on these guys. Like they'd be yelling like the girlfriend's first, last name, and phone number to this guy. I felt brutal for him. Yeah, until until the game started, But what are you gonna do?
It's always, in today's age, social media, you can look up anyone's mom or sister or girlfriend, so it's always nice.
It's always not, that comes in handy some points.
The frame of reference of, just chirping somebody, and we'll just leave everybody else's objectives to where they are. But yeah, you're right. The availability is definitely there, Keegan. Next question. Viggy, you were talking about that going down at a McDonald's, and one of your ventures besides playing baseball has been the Vicky's Big Eats series, where you go around every which way, whether maybe local or out of town, and give your food critiques. So obviously you have plenty of material over the summers and springs here. So maybe give us your top 5 food spots that you've been to that have been featured on Vicky's Big Eats, diners, drive-ins, and dives.
Well, you gotta go with Chick-fil-A just because it's a classic and you kind of gotta drive to Fargo to get it. And, it's not a bad place, but it's got the Chick-fil-A sauce. That's darn good. Like a lot of places, me and Keegan get honey mustard, and that's like the normal sauce we get. But when you go to Chick-fil-A, you get Chick-fil-A sauce. So they got some special stuff there.
Keegan, when you see him doing these Vicky's Big Eats, is there any kind of dissension among the team sometimes where, Viggy loves or hates something and then everybody else thinks he's crazy for thinking that one way or the other?
No, not really maybe, for loves because there's not a lot of food that he hates, but he definitely likes some weird foods.
Oh, yeah? Like what?
I mean, I'll eat from, crawfish to
horseradish,
stuffed mushrooms. What's something else weird? Radishes.
You like anything that's liver?
Yeah.
Anything with radish in the name is freaking brutal, but crawfish is good. I've been to New Orleans 3 times, so if anybody has a problem with crawfish, then come see me. But I don't know. How does this idea kind of come about? The Vicky's Big Eats, guys.
Well, let's just say I'm not the smallest guy. I'm kind of a chunkier guy, and you can tell that I like food. And one day, Pat Arnston came out and talked about, hey, we should do something fun so people can have something else on Twitter other than here's the score. So we kind of did that, and with being on the Vistas, we travel a lot of different places and we get a lot of new places. So kind of worked out where, hey, you know a lot about food, you eat a lot of food, and we're going to be going to a bunch of different places. So it kind of worked out like that. It worked out good.
It was that simple, pretty much. The pieces just came together.
Yeah, it was basically this boy likes food, he likes to talk, and basically came out like that.
I want to give Keegan the lead on one of these food topics. Is when you get to a game, what's the pre and the post game meal?
Oof. Well, we don't really have a lot of options for post game meals, especially if it's away. But home, we have after a home game, we'd go over to Ground Round or Applebee's, get some boneless wings, cheeseburger, and pregame usually. We don't eat a whole lot on the way down. Maybe some seeds and Gatorade, something, or a sandwich, Subway.
Today's interview is brought to you by Ground Round and Applebee's in Minot. And it seems like every time there's a franchise or even a local one, guys, that there's always some kind of argument about is it good or is it bad? Is it just because it's not here that we're going to like it? And how ridiculous is this line right now just because it's brand new? The latest examples being Culver's or Slim Chickens, stuff like that. Out of the new spots, where's the place to go right now?
New spots?
Slim Chickens is really good.
Culver's is good, but it's not really a new spot, but I call it a sleeper spot. It's called El Azteca. It's up over by, it's on North Hill, and it's a Mexican food, but they do breakfast burritos all day long, and, like, 1 out of 10, the breakfast burritos are like an 8.9. Like, they're darn good.
You're like the Barstool Pizza review of breakfast burritos. I don't want you to take that idea from me. I'm going to get it started. Keegan, are you more of a Me Mexico guy, or are you in the El Azteca boat with Viggy there?
This is going to be a little bit of a controversial answer. I'm not a big Me Mexico guy. I just feel like the tortillas are too greasy. El Azteca is definitely the way to go.
Taco John's or Taco Bell in Minot? Minot locations only, okay? Because I've heard some things about both franchises around here.
I'm definitely Taco John's.
I think Taco John's is the place to go if you want potato lays and tacos, but you can go Taco Bell. I feel like better burritos, cheaper, and then they got like specialty stuff. Like you can get Baja Blast there all the time, and they also have the Doritos tacos. So if like you just want tacos and like the lays, then you gotta go to Taco John's. But if you want something more than just a taco, you gotta go to Taco Bell.
Yeah, because the Baja Blast for me is a huge leg up when I'm like really close on either one, because I'm all about the Olays and like the burrito, like the meat and crunchy, the crunchy chicken and potato burritos at Taco John's. But then Taco Bell, I'm always on the number 6 with like the chalupas and got to get the soft taco and add in the nacho cheese. It's so far from the standard, but I mean, I just know I have to have it that way because I had it the first time, you know? So, because it feels like the first time every time that way, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, exactly. Now, speaking of cheating on our diets, we're going to stick with cheating for a little bit, and we're not going to let them off the hook because I know we're not playing baseball right now when we're talking, boys, but the Astros cheating scandal has been wild. What was your reaction when that first broke?
Pretty ridiculous. Like, you didn't expect it. Like, after they won the World Series, everyone was all on top of them. Like, oh, these guys are the best players, best team ever. And then, like, all of, like, the stats that they've shown afterwards, like, their batting average is, like, away games and stuff like that when they're not at home and they didn't have all of the, like, cheating they had was just, like, ridiculous. Like, they were all below 200 and stuff like that. Yeah, I definitely can't let them off the hook for that. Definitely should be some more consequences.
What do you think, Viggy?
I think the Astros, I mean, you're in the MLB for Pete's sakes. You can't just be cheating. Like, it's almost like taking PEDs, but for a whole team. So you got to punish them some way, but you can't take it away. It's like, that's something you just can't do because you basically ruin a whole season, but you have to punish them at some point.
I know that. Go ahead.
They still get their trophy, and they're still like no punishments. Pete Rose, 100% should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Pete Rose
leading with hits. Like, other than like Ty Cobb in the 4000s, he's like by a mile the best hitter. So yeah, I totally get what you're saying. And we're doing this over Zoom, and Zoom is like, I know, all the rage right now because we're unable to like get together and hang out with anybody. But it's kind of interesting that we talk about this because just came out. I don't know if you guys saw this. The Nationals just had a huge Zoom chat with like 20 guys. And the headline was like, Ryan Zimmerman still can't believe that Garrett Cole was never put into Game 7. And he's like freaking out. He's like, I'm down there hanging out. And he's down there in the 5th inning. Like, what is he doing that he's not coming in here? It's crazy. And then I believe Juan Soto and Robinson Chirinos, I think, is the reliever for Houston. They were just going back and forth the whole time. And Juan, he's like, give me the changeup one more time. He's like, he threw a fastball, you freaking idiot. And like everybody busts up laughing. But I mean, it was kind of a good comeuppance to see the Astros not win, you know, in hindsight.
Yeah.
It was nice.
I saw something like, I can't remember. Do you know who Brian Dozier plays for right now?
I was actually going to look that up because he was like one of the little squares here. I'll get it. I know he bounced. Yeah, he was in like what, L.A. before Washington. So I don't want to say that he's back there again. Here, hold on, let me check. Oh, he's with the Padres. He's out with Machado now. He buys into like the notion that their farm system's going to be awesome, even though he's old and not getting paid as much as Manny Machado apparently. But yeah, that's where Dozier is.
Yeah, I saw something about Brian Dozier, and like, I don't know what it was, but he like it was like on Instagram. He was holding up a garbage can, just like trying to diss on the Astros, and saw that on Instagram. Thought it was funny.
Oh, that was all over spring training before they had to stop the games. People bringing out the trash cans and stuff. I saw that. Even like Gritty, the Flyers mascot, was doing trash cans, like completely irrelevant sport and everything. But oh well. What do you guys think about this? I think it had to have been the commissioner or somebody that would have had like pull on this. Is that if the worst thing comes to pass about this virus and there's no baseball this year, apparently they would lean towards having the suspensions of AJ Hinch and Jeff Luna from the Astros being washed out. Like, where does that rationale come from?
I don't know.
Or is that okay? I mean,
because they still can't just not. They still gotta serve their time.
The whole point of the suspension is to rule them out for a season. So like,
It hurts the team.
Yeah, and it's not hurting anything. It's just going to be like everybody else sitting out. No one's playing. There's nothing going on. You should definitely have to be suspended during a year of play.
yeah, it's like really bizarre. It's kind of how like pitchers can be suspended sort of differently because they're playing like once every 5 games or whatever. Like, no, you get suspended for a month. Like, you can't just hang out anymore. Like, pitchers that get... There's been several that have had PEDs in like the 80 games, and they're playing, like, especially like if they're a reliever, they're not playing every single day. You know, it's like, no, you can't hang out with your buddies 4 out of 5 times a week. But I guess here we all are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what about like the branching out effects of this? Because there's a lot of guys that were on that team. Now, players didn't really get much out of it, but the coaches and, well, Beltran was on the roster. So the Red Sox and Mets, Alex Cora goes and wins a World Series with Boston. He's got to go because of being close to it, and Carlos Beltran doesn't manage a game. Do you feel like the teams were making the right call, or were they kind of put in a tough spot because of the court of public opinion?
I feel like they were definitely put in a tough spot because, like, it's not like they got busted cheating with their team, like Alex Cora with the Red Sox. He didn't do anything, like, wrong there, but he did something wrong in the past, and with all, like, social media and everything, they'd just be looked down upon, and, like, the franchise would just get more hate and bad rep for not letting him go. So I feel like it was more like that.
How sincere did the guys really come off, like the Astros players and even like the owner? Because like the owner was like super contradictory about like the legitimacy of the World Series, literally within like minutes. Just the guys that are still with Houston.
I feel like there's a lot of, like that one Astros when Altuve hit that home run. They're saying like, don't pull off the wire or don't pull off the shirt because of the wire. I think there's a lot of conspiracy theory behind it. But I think a lot of them didn't really say the right answers when getting interviewed and kind of seemed little, I don't know.
They were definitely suspicious about it. They didn't seem like apologetic or anything. They acted like they didn't do much wrong.
Yeah.
I have to give credit to Ken Rosenthal just with the matter of hindsight here, because there's no way he would have assumed that the Astros were cheating. But for some reason, he did ask Altuve, like right after the game, like, how come you didn't tear your jersey off? And there's no chance that this bow-tied guy is thinking, like, yeah, he's hooked up with a buzzer, you know?
Yeah.
So that kind of looks really bad. So ultimately, in you guys' opinions, did Altuve have a buzzer, an ugly tattoo, or an unfinished tattoo that was going to look good?
If it wasn't a buzzer, it's definitely a tattoo of some girl or something bad. Couldn't have been good.
I thought, because I swear I saw something on Instagram where he hit one before and his shirt got ripped off, and he claimed that his wife got mad that he was shirtless doing an interview, and that's why he did it, but I don't think that's the right thing, but that's what I've heard. So I want to say it wasn't a buzzer, but I don't know.
I'm not going to, like, look it up and fact check to see if Altuve was ever in, like, the ESPN body issue, because I don't want that on my computer. But anyway, yeah, I hope if it was that bad, I hope it wasn't as bad as, like, the cover-up. Did you see it on Tiger King when, like, the guy broke up with Joe Exotic and he had to have, like, the Joe Exotic script completely covered up? You guys haven't seen Tiger King yet?
Oh, we watched it. I watched it.
Yeah, so hopefully it was better than that. What about the former players, you know, like kind of Garrett Cole being on a new team, and he was kind of mum on that, and How would you guys handle it, I guess, if you leave this team and you were asked about, like, the past, I suppose?
It'd be kind of hard because, like, relationships, like, with teams are different for, like, everyone. Some people, like, that team to them is like a family, but then there's other people who are just, like, ring chasing or they're just there because it's business. It's, like, business only, and then there's other people who are, like, it's family. I don't know. I'd say it's different for everyone.
I feel like some people probably go by the code of, like, snitches get stitches or something like that.
Why was it so rudimentary, you know? I mean, it was banging on a trash can, you know?
Yeah. Could have been a lot.
That's like, I would expect that from, like, your Legion rivals or somebody, not a Major League Baseball team. You'd think they have a camera, they might as well be able to get away with it better for the final step than a trash can or an alleged buzzer. But, I mean, who am I to judge? I'm not a cheater. So, yeah. Out of all, like, the memes and all the retorts, we've already brought up a couple of them. What's been the funniest way they've been made fun of?
Gosh.
There's been so many.
There's so many that I've seen of. I think I saw some. What's it called? Oh, yeah. It was, what was it called? Something Street. It's an old cartoon.
I love old cartoons.
Oh, Sesame Street.
Sesame Street. When that Cookie Monster comes out of the dumpster.
Oh, yeah, Oscar the Grouch.
Oscar the Grouch comes out, and he's just, it comes out and then like bangs shut, and it was like cuts out to like the video of the Astros doing it.
I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
Handled.
Oh yeah, it's like a Dr. Seuss cover.
Yeah,
what? By Dr. Ephus Blue.
Commissioner throwing the World Series in the garbage. There's
Nice,
a whole Instagram account called Astros Shame where they just gives them it all.
There we go. It's about time for a handle shout out, I think. Oh yeah, like the no regrets chest tattoo with Jose Altuve. Yeah, that's another good one here.
Except it says no regrets. It's spelled wrong. The bad tattoo.
I'm glad you brought up Oscar the Grouch too, Dylan, because I was really impressed with the Saturday Night Live where they remade like a Joker trailer but centered on Oscar the Grouch, like super dark Sesame Street. That was phenomenal. You should check that out if you haven't gotten a chance to yet.
We'll have to.
Coming into this, we wish full regular season, the over-under on hit Astros batters is hovering around 83.5. So prorated, that's like once every other game-ish. So once we play baseball, are they going to be over or under that rate of being hit?
I'm going to guess. I have a feeling a lot of these guys are going to take it all out in spring training. Not really, because, you know, there's a lot more stats to worry about in MLB, or once it hits regular season. So I feel like they're trying to just get it all out and, like, before the real season actually comes in.
I hope Aroldis Chapman just starts hitting people in the ear hole.
Because he's, like, ripped now, right?
Yeah, have you seen those pictures? He's just jacked.
I don't know, like, if it's going to mess up his mechanics, though, being a pitcher.
Yeah, it could.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's throwing 108.
Keegan loves to see it. Now, we're obviously in a holding pattern right now, but we're continuing to pull up the memes. And how long do you think these guys are going to give grief? And I'm thinking, like, more than just, you look back in Wikipedia list of champions and you see, like, their year on the line. I'm talking about, like, people ruthlessly making fun of them.
Like the Chicago Black Sox, that was 80 years ago or something like that. And that's still a big topic in the sports history and just in sports in general of how they were gambling to get game away. So I feel like this will be around for a long time.
Well, like, not just, like, the whole, like, cheating aspect, but, like, them getting, like, harassed about it. Like, Falcons blew that big 28-3 lead or whatever against the Patriots a few years ago. You still hear stuff about that every once in a while. And this is a lot, like, bigger. It's like cheating a whole World Series. Like, they cheated their way to a win. So I think this will go on for a while.
I could just imagine if way back when the Black Sox scandal was going through, could you imagine if, like, memes were around back then and all the hilarious stuff what people would be posting about. I guess like the best thing they could do would be like a Fat Cat political cartoon where all the players have like cash over their eyes or something like that.
Yeah, I feel like they'd target Shoeless Joe Jackson or something. I don't know.
File that over to the classical memes page because that's always hilarious. How does baseball move on from this?
You got more World Series, more games to play. You can't go back and change history. You just got to keep playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What if the Twins? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What if the Twins did it, guys? I mean, you have to be embarrassed if you're an Astros fan right now, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, problem is you'd be so like hype about we won it, and then just to hear this, it basically kill you. Like Barry Bonds on PEDs or whatever. Like watching him grow, or I didn't, but like people watching him grow, they grow up and just realizing, he's on PEDs and just that's why he's so good. So it's gotta hurt in the heart a little bit, but
I feel like it's like a whole different like standpoint for like Twins fans because they've watched them for years now just lose and be absolute bottom garbage. And like how many actual like diehard Astro fans can you think of like before they were good, before they got good? They used to be in the same spot, garbage.
Because like Sports Illustrated had that cover in like what 2012 or like 2014 or 15 where they predicted the Astros winning the World Series like 5 years later, and they actually did it because they were so impressed with the farm system. But those guys were losing like 100 games every single year.
Yeah.
So like I totally get that, and I think it's funny how you bring up Barry Bonds as well because it was recently, I don't know like what the hype came up about the post, but somebody was comparing like Frank Thomas recently, like one of like the clean guys from that era, and how he's got like better stats than Mike Trout through his first 8 seasons. And my buddy Garrick, he's a White Sox fan. He's from Illinois, and he got a chance to meet Jose Canseco the one time when he was like serving burgers at a minor league ballpark he was working at. So Jose goes like, yeah, I played once for the White Sox, right? So I can give you a story. And apparently Jose and Frank Thomas were carpooling together, all these ripped athletes just carpooling like it's normal, like you guys going to school or something. And Jose was talking to him about like taking steroids, and according to Jose Canseco only, like Frank Thomas was like, "Are you kidding me? Like I'm this huge. You think I really need steroids?" So just glad that a guy like that stayed clean. Anyway, I wanted to shift the focus to you guys' team, the Twins. There's been this new wave of managers stepping in and having so much success right away, and Rocco Baldelli was no different in his first year. When you heard he was hired, I mean, what did you really expect out of the Twins, and how impressive was this season?
Well, just what they call the Bomba Squad was kind of unreal. The signing of Nelson Cruz was huge. I remember going to like a signing or whatever where they had a bunch of Twins players there, and I think I can't remember the.
Like that this summer it was when like all those Twins players came,
like Mitch Garver came and all that. Well, it was kind of crazy because they all wanted the big Bryce Harper and all that, but they kind of did it without those huge names. Like a lot of people stepped up, so I think it was a great season. I mean, just wish it was better, but to like be that close with the Yankees, and the Yankees being at like a home run field with home runs because their field's like 310 to right and left, where Target Field's like deep. So I was pretty impressed about what they did, but
they won 100 games, Viggy.
I know, but did they win a World Series? That's the problem.
So Keegan, do you agree? Should you have been expecting a World Series by August, like Dylan over here, apparently?
You don't expect World Series or championships out of Minnesota teams very often. So just see them have a plus 500 record. It's always nice.
What is it about facing the Yankees in the playoffs that the Twins can't get right, man? I mean, they lost 11 straight games, and man, it's almost like they have to plan from the outset of a season. Like, boy, just let's plan as much as possible and build this team so that the chips fall where they may, and we're not playing the Yankees at all in the first round. What is up with that?
I don't know. Just a case of yips, maybe something like that. I think they're cursed.
The Yankees yips,
and just the Yankees being always a powerhouse team. Maybe I don't know.
The Yankees are always filled with like big household names, like where everyone knows. Like they always got those star players. And Twins don't usually have like a bunch of those guys. Like maybe like you ask someone down south to name one player on the Twins, and they might be able to do that. And I don't know. Yankees spend a lot more money on their players. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that can say that about the Yankees. That's for sure. Let's talk about some Twins guys here and what you guys may think of them and how they can set up the team when baseball comes back. First of all, the pitching moves. There's been a lot of guys added to the Minnesota lineup. Just I don't know if it's for the high-end talent or just like the depth so you can get through a whole baseball season. But you guys got Ken Maeda coming. You got Homer Bailey, Rich Hill, Tyler Clippard, and Sergio Romo still going at it. So, I mean, what's your impressions of just the way pitching has been addressed?
I think it's kind of like I said, like about being the bomb squad. They hit that many home runs, and yes, they had 100 wins, but not go like super far, is because they had those stud starting pitchers, but they didn't have really they had maybe one or two relief guys that could actually do good. So I think bringing in a bunch of pitchers and also bringing in Josh Donaldson will help a lot just for more controlled games. Instead of having to put up a bunch of runs and do all this, they can have a 2-1 ball game.
Defense wins championships. You got to have pitching. You got to keep scoring down.
Yeah, I mean, you guys kind of have two different ways of opinion because, Dylan just wants to friggin' blast teams away. But, the pitching, I think, has to be there for sure. Just independent of, okay, sure, the team can hit a bunch of home runs. What grade do you give the Twins pitching staff right now?
Forgot Jose Barrio. I'd say pitching staff, like a B.
I'd say B minus C plus.
Okay.
Gotta see it.
Just above average. Gotta love it. You guys being upper Midwest, nice. I see already. That's cool. Thing is, this explosive lineup that the Twins had from last season. Another year for these guys. I've watched Nelson Cruz ever since he came over to Baltimore for that cup of coffee when the Orioles were good, where they were swept out by the Royals in the ALCS, but every single game was really close. And just Nelson Cruz, he just set the league on fire basically. And he did the same kind of when it comes to home run production in Seattle. How much does he have left in the tank? And you guys add people like Alex Avila and that Josh Donaldson. I'll admit I wasn't sure how much Josh would have left when he was in Atlanta because I'd be concerned about the Braves more than people in the AL Central. But out of those three guys, what can you expect out of them? Do we get the same team power numbers in 2020 as the ridiculous 2019 Twins prorated?
I think yes.
Depends on if the balls are still juiced.
Oh, yeah. Really?
Sure. Well, they're getting older and up there, they're still going to be not horrible. They're still going to be good players. But you also have a Mitch Garver coming up who averaged every 4 at-bats a home run because he was a catcher. So maybe you get him some more at-bats, and just you got a couple of young guys coming up. Not coming up, but are starting to hit their flow, it seemed like last year. Like Miguel Sano and Max Kepler and them just kind of hitting their prime, I'd say. So they're kind of getting in their groove. So I think, the older guys are kind of going to slow down, but I think they're also going to help develop or maybe get some pointers to those young guys who are starting to crush the ball.
And keep in mind, not that you care, I have a bunch of buddies that are White Sox fans. Are you picking the Twins to repeat in the American League Central this year? are you worried about the hype down there in Chicago or anybody else in this division?
Tim Anderson is pretty. I like Tim Anderson, but
I'd say the Twins got to take it.
Twins are going to take it.
They got to come back like that. They want to be something.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I was just waiting for if, like, Keegan lets Dylan, like, lead that question for a while and he's quiet just because he's going to pick the White Sox. But, yeah, you guys still got the Twins, huh?
Yeah.
No, you can't pick White Sox.
No one likes the White Sox.
Besides,
I like wearing White Sox. I don't know, but whatever. I had funny you bring up Miguel Sano. I've been to one Twins game ever, and it was like Memorial Day weekend a few years back. They were playing the Rays, and the game goes 15 innings. Okay, 1 o'clock game. I'm there for like 6.5 hours, and I'm like in the nosebleeds the entire time. And these White Sox guys are texting me about like, hey, are you still at this ridiculous like Twins-Rays game 1-1 in the 15th inning? I'm like, heck yes. And like when I'm leaving down the nosebleeds, I turn around and I'm like, did I really get my money? I don't think I got my money's worth today. And like, everybody laughs. And they brought up Sano in a pinch-hitting spot. Nobody thought he was going to play that day, and he just freaking struck out. All these Twins fans jacked up for some moment, and it didn't happen. But I got my money's worth. What happened was, ultimately, the Twins bullpen, you have to give them credit. They made it 16 innings or whatever. But they gave up back-to-back home runs, and then they couldn't recover in the bottom half. So it was like a 3-1 scoreline. But that's my Target Field memory. What about you guys?
Well, this last summer,
we, me, Keegan, Charlie Slotsby, Derek Nygaard, and Nicholas Murphy, we all went down with my rents, and it was actually the day Fargo Post 2 was getting celebrated on the field for taking second in the World Series.
You were You were waiting in the bathroom line when that was going on.
Yeah,
we were sitting up there yelling, some classic chirps.
Some classic chirps.
Made for podcast chirps.
Yeah. Like, maybe.
Yeah. Well, speaking of where the Twins want to be, the World Series, and a good example anyway, not maybe your chirps that you can't share, but recently, Minot guy, Gary Cederstom, retired from his umpiring career after wrapping up World Series and does all this stuff. I know like it's not like playing per se, but he's making this big time in the big leagues. I mean, what kind of example does he set for everybody back here that wants to, make it in pro sports one way or the other?
Kind of just like the whole Carson Wentz thing, just gives kids motivation. Like, you can be from North Dakota and people think you're living in Canada and never even heard of where you're from, and you can still go. Someone's got to make it somewhere. There's always spots to fill. Why can't it be you? Just a little motivation.
There was it's kind of weird. Like, I moved here in like 2015, and that was like my teams are all Philadelphia ones, obviously, and Dave Hackstall went to the Flyers shortly after I got here, and that was ill-fated. And then Carson gets drafted by the Eagles, so kind of ran all together right away. It was kind of crazy. But for I say that to say this: like out of the national scope, anything like a North Dakota acquisition like does come out of nowhere, So was there anything like before Carson where like you guys were super hyped up about maybe an NDSU player's prospects, or was it more like UND hockey when it comes to like making the show in this area?
Probably more UND hockey. There's been lots of big names come out of UND, like Parise, Taze. There's like the list goes on and on how many NHL players come from UND. So it's pretty nice to see that. But that was probably like for professional athletes, mainly UND.
There was a couple guys from NDSU, like Easton Stick, now playing on the Chargers or whatever.
I had a guy telling me that he wouldn't be surprised. Jabril Cox just transferred to LSU for like his final like grad year or whatever, going to the national champs. And I have a buddy of mine. He's like Trey Lance. I mean, he had a flawless year. He didn't throw an interception. Another easy ride to the championship as a true freshman. Won like the top quarterback or top player award that
never goes to a freshman ever. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he just transfers NDSU because now we're a factory all of a sudden and we can't keep these good players. Is there any chance that a guy would do that besides like the grad transfer type that Jabril would do?
See, I think NDSU is just, they're kind of like a powerhouse, just winning all these championships. So, I mean, you can go play for some junky D1 team, but I feel like you're going to get more recognition if you go win 3 championships with NDSU, I feel like, rather than going to play on, I can't give you a good example.
It's like the league lower Alabama.
Oh, okay. You guys are good with that, okay? And like LSU is a junk school, Dylan. That's where Jabril Cox is going, or what?
No, I'm actually an LSU fan, but
yeah. Okay, yeah. Keegan's giving you the quotes.
I became an LSU fan when Tyler Matthew was there.
Oh yeah, man. He's a friggin' dog, man. So NDSU right now, the way things are going, they have this record winning streak on the line right now, and they're like 6 away. But the thing is, they play Oregon week 1, and I know they've beaten Iowa before when Iowa was 13th or something like that in Kinnick Stadium. But I think, man, Oregon's a whole other different animal. And I was talking to the Minot State like sports information department, and those guys were all in on NDSU like it was going to be something easy, and they were ready to put money on it like that. And I told them to come see me. But what do you guys think about that NDSU Oregon? It's been years in the making, and now it's going to happen with Trey Lance.
It's going to be if they win that game, it's going to be really big just for North Dakota and NDSU in general. Knock off a big school, big name like Oregon, no matter what the season they have. But there's always going to be those people who look at it and like pity it to like make like it look like it's not that big of a deal just because it's North Dakota and stuff like that. But if they do win, it'd be pretty crazy. Hopefully.
I was on college football subreddit probably a week or so ago, or maybe a month by now. It was like the latest team that was moving out of the Mountain West. And listen, this is the Mountain West Conference, top level, has nothing to do with NDSU, but the top upvoted comment on the entire feed of like 800 comments was, okay, NDSU, what's your excuse now? What are they doing at this level still, guys?
Well, I think it's just more about, I think it's more about not like what the team does, but more of what they can supply, like the people in the stands, all that different stuff. Like, yeah, you're in Fargo. They may pack the Fargo Dome, but what happens? You put them in some big college dome that like Alabama or something, and they don't get the merchandise, all that. So I think it's more. I think they could compete up there. I'm not saying they're going to be in Alabama and LSU, Clemson, or Ohio State, but I think they can compete up there, but they don't have the necessities for it.
You kind of wish that it could just be a question about the team's talent, but like there's so many other factors to it, which is really weird. Keegan, you brought up Zach Parise being one of the prominent guys in UND hockey, and a few years back when he signed that huge deal along with Ryan Suter, were you guys surprised, A, that Minnesota landed premier free agents like that, both in the same offseason, and B, that guys that they're admittedly from here, but they would go ahead and come home, although it was like the big money, at the same time.
Yeah. Is Parise? I feel like Parise's from North Dakota, or not North Dakota, Minnesota.
They're both Minnesota or Wisconsin guys, like that area, I believe.
Yeah. It's definitely like nice to see. It's kind of surprising too, but I don't know. It's definitely nice to get those big names up in Minnesota and stuff like that. Get some talent up there, maybe some wins.
Because it was it's completely different in baseball because like the salaries are ballooned way too far out of proportion compared to like the NHL where everything's capped off, and not payroll wise or whatever. But I mean, I guess it was refreshing to see somebody like buy into coming to the Wild,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Do you feel like they should have had like maybe a deeper playoff window at all?
Yeah, they were decent for like a couple years afterwards, but now they're kind of downhill again, not doing too hot.
We just
getting old.
we just blaming Bruce Boudreau completely, or?
I don't know. They got to get some more young talent in there. They can't just buy in on one guy. They got to build a team.
I think they're still too attached to Parise. I think he's seen his days.
Quavu's getting old.
Quavu's getting old too. Go get some good.
They need the next Connor McDavid up there, something like that.
You just got to win like the draft lottery, because that's like something that Minnesota, they're either like a first round team, or they're kind of maybe stuck in that, like they're picking 10th or whatever. Like they're not hitting the playoffs, but they're not quite, like bottoming out or like winning the draft lottery. And I've heard from some of the hockey coaches I've been talking to, that maybe in hockey it's just something about you need a complete teardown. You can't really piece something together when you're just average. What do you guys think?
Well, I honestly don't really know. I'm not a huge hockey guy, but I think that when you don't have an average team, you can still win games. Like, if you watch, like, The Miracle and stuff, like, that wasn't, like, the best the best people. It was just who's going to work the hardest and who's going to do that. So, just that an average team can still put up points and put up whatever. And it's just like that Zamboni driver winning against the Maple Leafs. Like, you can have random stuff happen. So I think you got to be a real garbage team to go all the way down to get that first overall.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'll be the first to admit that I get it. Miracle, it's a Disney movie. It started out with all this conflict among the guys having to come together, and I'm not sure if that's completely true. I don't have the time to look it up right now or whatever. But ultimately, they got to that upset gold medal goal that they had starting out. Just kind of circling it back, you guys are baseball guys, probably first and foremost. And you can talk about the talent that you have on a team, but just having that kind of togetherness, how far does that get you in baseball?
Oh, chemistry, like the team chemistry plays a big role in everything. Like how well you are with your teammates and how well you work together. Like a lot of like cliche saying is you're only as weak as your weakest link or whatever. Or
you're only as strong as your weakest link.
Only as strong as your weakest link.
We're leaving it in.
Yeah. But you got to work together. You got to play hard together. You win together, you lose together.
Like, I think this year, our sophomore year for baseball, high school baseball, we were 2 times, 3 times more athletic our sophomore year. Just with the Lofton Kabundis, the Carson Taninis, the Johnny Tubbs, the Creighton Rudolphs, and all of them. And we took 4th. But then the next year, our junior year, we came around and took 2nd, and not a lot of people had us doing that because we were a bunch of young, but we have all been playing together for so long, and we kind of understand, and we know how to work together as a team.
It really makes that difference, huh?
I think so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, sounds good. I mean, we'll get you out on that good, those good vibes, guys. I appreciate you doing this, and thanks for the time. That's Keegan Stenvold and Dylan Vigested.
Thank you.
Thank you.